Hey, it's 11:40 The Bet and Audacy Sports and Raiders fans. Let's be honest. I know a lot of you are interested in Aaron Rodgers, but here's the thing. Like any relationship, when you go long term with someone, you want to find out about them before you get invested and committed into the relationship, which leads us to Aaron Rodgers. A lot of people are interested in him, want him to be the next Raiders quarterback. But he's into some things that are a little different compared to Derek Carr. And specifically, this trip he took in Oregon, we need to get an inside look about what the hell actually happened. So joining us, ESPN senior writer Xuan, formerly of NBC News and CNN. First off, Xuan, thank you so much for the time. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. How are you?
I'm good. Well, it was like snowing 2 days ago, and now it's 60 degrees. So I'm like trying to avoid being cold. And obviously, thank you so much for your time. And for those that don't know, you've actually covered things that are important, elections, politics. Now you're in this playground of sports. But with this story specifically, with Aaron Rodgers, it's out of the ordinary. And he's a generational talent. I just want to know, have you done or worked on a story similar to this before?
I've done wellness stories. I think that's important where you talk about wellness and the whole person and how important it is and how hand in hand your performance and your mental wellness. So I've been done stories like that, and of course sports stories here and there, but never the two together. So it's definitely interesting, and never a darkness retreat.
Yeah, and speaking of that darkness retreat, it's kind of funny. Like as we close out Black History Month, I can't help but compare like if a black quarterback were to do this, how people would judge it, or even in your spectrum, like in the political world, where if Joe Biden was like, "Hey guys, I'm out for a week because I'm going to do this," like how fascinating is it that because of Aaron Rodgers and I guess the energy he's given off before that everyone's like, "All right, cool, all right, dude, be safe, it's cool."
Well, I think it's a little different with your President Biden analogy because the president can't disappear for 4 days.
Yeah, hey, no phones, no nothing, just
No,
darkness.
right. Exactly. That would not be great. But in terms of Aaron Rodgers and a quarterback disappearing, look, everyone has their own off-season practice, right? Like some people go to Cabo, some people go to Europe on a grand tour, get on a yacht, whatever the case. And his story is he wanted to do a darkness retreat for 4 days, 4 nights, excuse me, 5 days, 4 nights, and unplug. I'm not against it. I mean, I think we've talked about this before, just a minute ago. Like wellness is important, and if that's his journey to wellness, then good for him. It's not something I would probably be able to do. It takes a lot of mental strength, I think, and stamina to sit in the dark for that long. But he obviously meditates. He obviously has done, or he has said he's done yoga retreats and meditation retreats and then silent meditation retreats. So this just seems like the next progression to that.
And if you could, like when it comes to this darkness retreat, and you've done a lot of good work on ESPN, and I encourage everyone to go look at ESPN.com. Could you kind of tell us like some of the origins of this ritual, like when this actually started? Because he's not the first.
No, so according to the website and some of the research I've done, look, there's not a lot of science behind it. Let's just put that out there. There's not a lot of science and research on this. So what are the medical benefits? We don't know. But historically speaking, there are roots, people say, to parts of Asia, India, certain Buddhist practices. The website and this specific darkness retreat cites back to an indigenous group in South America. So there are origins of this. And, I talked to a lot of endurance athletes and personal fitness folks, professionals who are really into this. And you have a couple of different folks. Some people who look at it as a way to unplug and to meditate and to really reconnect with themselves. And some look at it as a challenge, like how can I push the limits of my
Yeah.
endurance even more? So there are many approaches to this.
And when Aaron Rodgers finally awoken from from the retreat, or it stepped outside, I guess I should say rather, a couple people like it made traction online. Like some people actually posted the photos and everything. But for those that haven't checked it out, can you kind of walk us through what exactly he was stepping into, and also like the popularity of it? Because I believe you wrote in your piece that like the guy who owns the land that Aaron Rodgers did this in, like he's building more rooms because there's like a
Yeah.
wait list to do this, right?
Right. There's like a several hundred person wait list. He said he had at least 500 people on a wait list. I don't know where that length is. And obviously, when Aaron Rodgers first announced that he was going into a darkness retreat, they received the Sky Cavern, the Sky Cave, excuse me, the group that I talked to. They used to get like 5 to 10 inquiries a day. They were getting over 100 a day after Aaron Rodgers
Unbelievable.
announced that he was going in. But yeah, their wait list is like 18 people. It's only been open for a couple of years, this specific retreat. But they say they've already hosted over 300 folks. And then if you deep dive into their social media, you'll find like origins within endurance athletes and then with personal fitness folks. And I think that's kind of how it's spread within that community. And maybe I'm going to guess how Aaron got wind of it. So it's gaining popularity. There are quite a few, not quite a few, there are a few of these retreats in parts of Southeast Asia. The Czech Republic, for some reason, has
That's the hot spot.
That is the hot spot for these. And then there's one in Central America that people go to as well.
And I'm kind of curious in doing your research and talking to people, you bring up the endurance athletes. Talking to multiple of them that actually partook in this experience, I'm wondering, did you kind of see a theme or maybe a connection between these athletes and what they were searching for? Was it all over the place for different purposes?
I think what everyone said that was the through line is sort of the mental muscle the mental muscle that everyone needs to exercise. Like as an athlete, you're exercising with weights for your body and your conditioning, but they were saying that you need this mental muscle too to be able to endure and play through whatever fatigue or stress or whatever other thing. So they were looking for ways to condition their mind as well. And I think that was an interesting approach that, hey, I can be this peak athlete performance wise, but if I don't have it up here together, I'm never going to be able to perform.
And like you said earlier, there isn't that much scientific evidence about this. So I'm curious, in talking to people, was there any resistance from certain sections of people or any pushback to trying this and like, no, this is hogwash or something to that effect?
Sure. So I spoke to a wellness expert who teaches at Stanford, and she makes the point that this isn't for everybody, right? So like you have to be mentally prepared and conditioned. Like I'm a novice at this. I could not go in and sit in the dark for 5 days and 4 nights. I would probably panic, right? So you have to build up to it to some extent. And then there are people who, this woman, Tapia, who I spoke to at Stanford, was saying that there are certain conditions where maybe you should reconsider it. If you're going through a manic episode or you're depressed, like don't go sit in the dark. That's probably the last thing you want to do. So there are people that shouldn't do it, and maybe there are people who think I'd love to get away from the family, from life, from little kids screaming at me. Let's go, put me in the dark room,
So I'm going to reiterate, you've said it a couple times, but you would never do this, correct?
I'm unique. In full disclosure, my grandmother was blind, so I would panic in that room just because I think there's a fear of darkness for me.
Yeah.
So I could not personally do that or handle that stress. But who am I to judge as to who can and can't handle it?
Well, that's where I couldn't do it. The Last of Us is a great show on HBO. Like I would have to see it. If I'd miss it, I'd freak out, start thinking of what's going to happen. Then I'd start thinking about the zombies, and then I'd be like, they're coming.
You're in the woods by yourself in a Hobbit-like thing, like set up for a perfect movie.
Yeah, exactly. But look, I want to thank you for doing everything that you've done covering this story and joining us. Xuan Tai joining us here, ESPN senior writer. Be sure to follow her at Xuan Tai. Her Instagram name is going to be, hold on, wait a second. How am I going to edit this? It's right over there. Click on it and follow it. And Las Vegas, that might be your future quarterback. It's up to you if you want him.